Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Retired 25 podcast. I'm your host, Salomon Roybal, and with us today, we have a very special guest, Ndya Hutty from Essentials. How are you, Ndya?
I'm good. Can't complain. Today's my birthday. Turned 26, so about to see
Happy
what
birthday.
25 life is about.
Well, happy birthday, and thank you for being on the show today. Let's just jump straight into it. What made you want to be an entrepreneur?
So, what made me want to be an entrepreneur? It was like, to be pretty blunt and bleak about it, is the simple fact that it's not really many opportunities for women in corporate America. And that's something I've learned. I've always worked since I was 14 years old, but like even before then, I've always had like a little hustle going on where I remember being a young girl shoveling snow, selling lemonade. My dad was my first employee. Shout out to him. He was the lemonade maker. I was the salesman. But as far as like everything else, it was just more so always having that passion and that drive to always want to do more than what was just in front of me. And I know when I got into like being an entrepreneur, I didn't just want to create a product just for somebody to just buy. I wanted to have some sort of value to it. And I know with like candles, it helps people relax and be more in a peaceful space. So I just wanted to like really dive into that and just make sure I stay consistent with it.
Okay. So your business is it just candles or is it like essential oils? What is it?
At the moment, I have home diffusers, car diffusers, candles, and like more so smaller size candles as well. I do size variations for that. But those are the
Okay.
four things I'm working on, trying to venture out to more, but also taking it to perfect the craft that I already have going, so therefore I won't take on too much. I think
Mhm.
the biggest thing in entrepreneurship is knowing when to not overwhelm yourself, because I feel like we
Mhm.
feel so pressed to do a lot that we kind of burn ourselves out.
Mhm. Yeah, knowing your own capacity, right, and knowing how far you can stretch yourself is a big, super big. It's a key if you could, if you know how to work it. And like you said, a lot
Right.
of times we try to do so much, especially when you're starting off, or you feel like you're not covering enough bases to be successful. Why candles though? Or like what got you into candles?
It smells good. Why not? Like, you walk into a room, it just smells amazing, and I want to stay here forever. It's like the Febreze. Nobody knew where they were at until they took the mask off, but because it smelled amazing, people were just happy to be there.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, it's just, it's just you never think of that, right? Most people, when they're thinking about entrepreneurship, they're thinking like the flashy, the big stuff, and there's so many ways you can go with it. Candles is a huge market, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's pretty big. It's a lot. Due to COVID, a lot more candle makers have started to been birthed because of the simple fact that it's very therapeutic.
mm,
It was a way that, okay, I tried to like get into other forms of entrepreneurship. Like maybe I want to do a service, but then like also learning like to trying to juggle a job and trying to do a service job is kind of like it becomes too much because you have to always be wired, you have to always be educating yourself, and you kind
yeah.
of don't give your mind that mental break. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's great that some people can do it. I just wanted to do a product because I wanted to be creative in the sense of like something thinking outside the box and something that just basically fills the room with energy. And that was really just it, because I was like, I like candles. I burn them a lot. People don't realize how much they buy them. You need them when the power goes out. So even just outside the candles, being able to create like a fragrance or a scent that makes people react in a side of like excitement, it
Mm-hmm.
was just like, okay, great. This is a field where I can not only like, touch people's emotions, but also make them tap back into a memory.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what makes your candles like stand out? What's so like? How do you go through that process?
So I believe what makes my candles stand out is the simple fact that like as much as they can fill the room and try to be as less toxic as possible,
Mm-hmm.
just going through different like finding different vendors that offer the best sustainable sources is also like something that I'm going through because it's still in my first year of business. So to come this far and be able to create something that people love, I know is great in the sense of the level of excitement that it brings into people and fragrances that are different. I
Mm-hmm.
try not to do generic fragrances. I might have like one or two traditional, but then I want to throw something different where people are like, you know what? I never thought of this fragrance.
Like what?
So I somehow it's strange to explain. Like my dad always wore this cologne called Jean Paul, like in the Jean bottle, like the
Yeah.
mint bottle,
Uh,
and I loved it as a kid. And I was just one day mixing up different fragrances, and I made it as a candle, and I didn't catch hint till like once it started to burn. Then I was like, this smells like the cologne that my dad used to wear, and I was like, I would love this in my room. And I told my aunt about it. She was like, oh my god, I can't wait till you're done with this candle, because it reminds of us like my dad. He passed away when I was 13, so it was just something that like brought so much excitement to
yeah.
people, a simple smell. And I was
Yeah.
even like learning into about what fragrances does to the mind and how it connects to that part. Like, how you go into a certain room and you smell food and you're like, wow, this smells like my grandmom's house or something
Yeah.
like that. It brings that level of comfortability and familiarity within people. It's like, you know what, this connects me back to something good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. There's so many times, you have that smell and it will literally take you back to like a whole day or maybe just like a very special moment in your childhood, last week, whenever.
Right.
And yeah, I had that with a lot of smells. Like I can't walk by hospitals without going back to like when I fell when I was 2 years old. That that
That
like
medicine, like,
surgery smell, alcohol mix. Yeah.
it was always strange. My favorite fragrance, like scent wise, I like fruity stuff. I'm not gonna lie. It's something sweet. It just makes my mouth water
Yeah.
instantly. I've learned it through making candles from reading this book. Is basically saying like how so 50% of your eating is connected to your sense. So you ever like recognize when you like have a cold, you don't have an appetite, and it's like 'cause you
Yeah.
can't really smell anything. So when you're eating stuff, it's like your taste buds are really like 50% of the work, where your senses and your nose is like more the other half.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And where can we find your candles?
So I have an Instagram at Min Essentials, MINESSENTIAL _. I'm redoing my website. I'm kind of going through a rebrand. I wanted to kind of put more of like upscale home decor so people can have it for like their baths and stuff like that. So I'm
Okay.
planning on relaunching my website by July.
Okay, cool. And you were talking about a little bit about like sustainability in your product, right?
Mhm.
What makes your candle sustainable? Like what's different?
So I try to use mostly recycled or eco-friendly thing. I'm trying to get away from like the whole plastic, and then also when people use the jar, I want to create that customer loyalty where they can like either turn it into a plant or they can just send it back as far as like towards 5% off their next purchase. Still working out
Okay.
that structure. So I think that's more so it helps people not just throw it in the trash. I feel like we throwing glass in the trash, throwing metal tins in the trash, and it's kind of just adding to our waste instead of finding ways where we can, hey, bring it back and recreate it into something new. Essentially, like I know within a 2-year goal is like I wanted to have a glass cutter and take old wine bottles and turn it into candles.
Okay.
Just for that helps eliminate a lot of recycling as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I know it's true that people throw away those, the containers of candles. That's huge. Except in my house. I'm gonna be honest with
You
you.
save it, you save the jars.
I don't. My mom used to. Well, my mom does. And I remember I'd be at the house and I'd just be drinking out of this cup. And I'm like, there's a very strange like design on this cup. And we had like 4 or 5 of them. And I never knew where she bought them from. I'm like, where did you get this design on the cup?
Right.
Until one day she comes home with like a bag of candles to go replace the ones that she burnt. And I see the same cup. I'm like, these are candles. I'm drinking like candles right now.
As long as it doesn't taste like fragrances or wax, you
No,
should be.
yeah. Yeah, she cleaned them out. She cleaned them out. But I just want to point out we're doing our part to be sustainable, to reuse stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, it's great though. And in terms of like, you're talking about passion and drive. In as you make this, what keeps you going? Like, what's that motivator behind it?
So I'm a water sign. I'm a Cancer seasons, and I deal with a lot of emotions. I'm not gonna lie, but be able to transfer that energy and take that weight off my shoulder and put it into something that I can create that somebody else gets to experience is like, wow, you know what? they don't know essentially what they're getting. They're thinking they're just getting their product. Like when you buy from an artist or you buy from somebody with service, they have that level of devotion of making sure you feel what they went through transitions into your experience. So if they were going through trying to be the best, then you're going to get the best product. So for me, it was just like, you know what? There's people around me that believe in me, so why not like keep going? I felt like, I got discouraged when I first made candles because they weren't the greatest that I wanted them to be, but that was just a learning moment in getting other people, opinions of it. It was just like, you know what, this is something I should just keep going with. I don't It just felt like it made sense. Like sometimes you find your passion, it might not make sense at the time. I would have never thought being 26 years old making candles after going to college for financing and being set on wanting to be an accountant. I do that whole 180. So I was just like, you know what? Find ways to transition your passion, your energy into something that somebody else can enjoy and love.
Yeah.
And you keep doing that and don't think about the money, your life will just be filled with abundance.
That's right.
I think sometimes when people get into their passion, they think, hey, why is it not making my money? But that's kind of where you water it down. It's like, you don't have a glass of Hennessy, you throw water in it and still expect the same taste. So you got to still like maintain yourself and understand that, like, how can you transition what you love into something else for somebody that they can love?
Yeah.
I love
that. And persistence with time equals success, right? So,
right.
If you're passionate about it, you just gotta keep going. And what, with candles, I have so many questions about candles, right? It's just, I'm not a creative, right? My sister-in-law, and my niece are creatives, right? Like they paint, they draw. This painting right here is my niece's first commission painting, which I overpaid, but you gotta support the small businesses.
Right.
So like, I'm very interested about like when someone's a creative and they create stuff, like what inspires them to do that. When you come up with like a new fragrance or a new smell, like what, how do you come up with that? What's your process?
Just a second. Do you mind if I plug my charger in? My computer started to die.
No, go ahead.
With fragrances is just more so like a way, like I try not to just do what I like because I like that would be a little biased. I ask my peers their opinion of it, and like I also utilize my friends too. So I may make a candle, I say here, smell this, but like initially the creation of it is like I'll get like a stick, like a kebab stick, or usually something metal, and have like a staple tester, and I mix them through and test out what smells good. So you try not to really invest too much in one fragrance because you don't know if that fragrance is going to be a hit. Like you don't want to go out and buy like 5 pounds of peppermint eucalyptus, but you only have 2% of your business that likes that fragrance, and then you kind of figure out like how do I critique it to keep it going. So it's also really just learning like when I put some out, see which ones sell well and which ones need to be pulled back and critiqued better too. So more so like really just being a chemist. Like I feel like I'm more so a chemist when as opposed to like just making candles. You can look up at how to make candles and you'll learn that there's like a lot of different versions of wax. There's coconut wax, there's paraffin wax, there's bees wax, there's soy wax, there's gel wax. So then you gotta figure out, okay, what market is it that I want to be in? Some people make candles out of shape, others use vessels. So it really is just making sure like kind of what your formula is. It's like, Krusty Krab, you got your own special sauce. You gotta keep it going and figure out what works with you. I know there are other candle manufacturers that have really good lavender scents, whereas like you go to other people's lavenders and it doesn't smell the same. So it's really just critiquing that and just figuring out which fragrance sits best with you. And like I said, it's going to connect you to the emotions. So you're going to be like, you know what, this feels right.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're mixing, are you thinking of like what you're trying to like an ambiance? Are you trying to create with that, or are you trying to create a specific smell? Like what?
So I never really have a specific smell. I just create more of the ambiance. Like I just want somebody to smell it and be like, you know what, I want my room to smell like Jamaica today. Like, you know what? Like, because if people go into a room and they're like, you know what, I can't go somewhere, but it puts you on that mental vacation. And you're like, you know what, this smells really good. I feel like I'm on a resort. You might have a glass of wine, you relaxing it out, good music. Or you could have just cleaned your house and you want something that smells really clean and just like has a settled smell. I just go more so what the vibe is trying to be within
Okay.
the like, okay, you know what, I want this specific fragrance.
Mm. Okay.
I think as time goes on and the more my nose palette can handle, the better I can get with, figuring out different fragrances, because there is a lot of smell that you will smell. And at some point you're like, you know what, I need to take a break.
Yeah. Go like overdose on the smells, right?
Yeah, I just at one time I stayed up. A crazy story is that I work 4 days a week, so my days off I try to get in some like production time.
Mm-hmm.
So I got up at like maybe 7 in the morning, and I didn't stop going until 3 in the morning. I took like maybe a half hour to an hour break, went out, but I came back. And at the end of it, I said I would have never did this for a job. I would never
Right.
like I sit there and look like, but I'm like, this is something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't matter to the time. But then after a while, the fragrances reminded me like, all right, take a break. You got to go
Yeah.
clear your nose palette, come back, and then you can keep going.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't burn yourself out.
Yeah. You say you work 4 days a week. Where do you work? Or what's your
Uh,
other job?
this is still at Vanguard. I don't have like the regular Monday through Friday. I got like a part schedule. I
Mm.
did that so that I can have more flexibility in my life. And
Okay.
it's like as an entrepreneur, you are trying to create that balance. So I said, well, if I could work 4 days out of 5, then one I'll save more in gas in long run. And I was also watching an episode of Adam Ruins Everything, and he was
Mm.
talking about like how 4-day work week schedules have a better work life balance. And I totally agree, because it makes it easier for scheduling appointments,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. You get that balance, and then you have that set day coming up.
Yeah.
Whereas like a regular Monday through Friday, you chancing it sometimes when you're going to work, because you don't know if you can catch a flag, might get pulled over, so then you're late, just any little thing. So it was just like, you know what, let me find a way to still keep my salary so I can, invest in myself,
Mm-hmm.
and also find that balance where I can also invest in the stuff that I want to do, like have that time to do it.
Yeah. And how's that? How's that? Being a full-time entrepreneur and also having a full-time job. How's that for you?
It has its romances. I tell you one thing for sure. Anybody that is like pursuing an entrepreneurship, I'm not gonna be Simone this. I'm gonna be completely honest. You can find
Be
somebody who
Simone.
understands your lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? You can find somebody that understands your lifestyle, even if they work a 9 to 5,
Mm.
because of the simple fact that when you are an entrepreneur and you have like somebody in their background that can keep you grounded regardless of what their lifestyle is, if they work in a 9 to 5 or an entrepreneur, as long as they can keep you grounded, that is the best thing ever. Because you're gonna have days where you're gonna flip out, you're gonna cut, you like, I'm over this, like you're gonna cry, you're gonna have all those emotions,
Mm.
but you need somebody to bring you back down to reality. Because not saying you don't believe in yourself, but just like, having that partner there, that even without it being a legal thing or whatever, it's just
Mm.
somebody that has your back. It's like, we have our friends, we have our mom, we have somebody there that when we feel like we're not doing our greatest, then we're like, no, you're doing good. Just take a deep breath
Yeah.
and you're fine.
Yeah.
My grandfather does that to me a lot. He was like, well, you're not like some of the young girls out there. And I was like, what does that mean? He spends too much time on YouTube. The man looked, and I was like, this is too much.
Yeah.
Like he sent me a text message one time and ended it with Cardi B, and I was like, "Where are we going? Like, why is this?"
Why do you know who Cardi B is? First of all.
Yeah, like you give the man. He said you give him a TV, you give him an iPad. He's gonna start looking things up. He was like, I gotta stay out there with what's going on in the world, and I'm like, it's just too much. Just make sure you save.
He's over here telling you what's going on in the world.
As a man who was in the army and like seen so much and grew up from the same neighborhood that I grew up, I'm like,
Mm.
you might be on to something. He's like, most people don't make it my age. I'm like, yeah, you pushing 75, so it's
Yeah.
like we get to that point. Like I was trying to understand, like I think that's the hardest thing for most people to let go of their grandparents, and I know that's gonna be the hardest thing for me to let go, because they're like our precious gems, like
Yeah.
they're like our like time capsule, but in living life, like.
Mm. Nah, I still have on my mom's side. I still have my grandparents, and you see them get older, but you still enjoy them, right? My grandparents live in Honduras, so like when I talk to them on the phone, my grandma's the most. She's a ball of life. Like she's always laughing, always enjoying herself. And it's just
And you
like,
how? Like how you
yeah,
so happy?
she's always happy, and she got reasons not to be, but she, she's the most happiest person in the world. She never complains. And I just enjoy her at all times. I'm like, I'm enjoying it the most I can from you. We make jokes, we crack jokes. I laugh at her. I got videos and stuff of her saying like gross things. My grandma's the one that can make everyone squeal, like scream.
Mhm.
Just she'll start saying some nasty stuff. I'm like, no, you way too old
That's
to be
how,
talking like
yeah,
this.
like how my grandfather is. He's like so blunt, and I'm like, you didn't have to say that. It's
Right?
like I guess they're at their age, so it's like I said what I said,
Yeah,
and usually you just take it how it is.
yeah,
No, I feel like it's like grandparents can't do wrong. Like even when they make you upset, you're like, you know what? Like they just probably didn't understand where I'm coming from, but I don't know. I enjoy every last bit of them because, like I said, it's like literally you can ask questions about how things were back then and compared to how things are now.
exactly. What did you mean by you're not gonna be Simone this?
Oh, I was saying like basically I don't want to like downplay people who work a 9 to 5. I'm just saying I don't want to
I
say
don't get the reference.
uh,
Who? First of all, who's B Simone? And second of all, what did she say? What did she say?
it was like something like based off of like a Nick Cannon thing where like I tried to stay off of Instagram, but I seen it and it was like people took her word out of context and I downplayed the simple fact that she was like, like if I'm an entrepreneur, I want somebody that does the same thing. Like basically people who work 9 to 5 don't get the entrepreneur
Mm,
lifestyle. And like me and my friends talked about it. And I'm like, I mean, I get that some people have preferences, but you can't just it's like when women say all men ain't ish.
yeah,
Like you can't say that for everybody. So it's kind of like you shouldn't be so quick to generalize it. Like I said, you can find somebody who has that balance. I think that's all that most people really need, especially as an
yeah,
entrepreneur, because you're gonna be up late sometimes. But if somebody understands that this is something you're passionate about,
yeah,
then regardless of what their lifestyle is, they gonna understand you because you have these talks. I always
yeah,
be amazed when people say like certain things they realize within their relationship years later. And I'm like, y'all didn't have this talk before. Like y'all, like how do you not know he didn't want kids? Like
yeah,
I'm sure he said he never wanted kids. Like it's just, I guess some things don't get said, but for me, I come into like, hey, this is what it is, and this is what it's not. I don't want to lead to false accusations or
yeah,
build an expectation that isn't there. It's kind of just like, hey, this is what I get into. Like my spouse was there when I started making candles, so I don't see him not understanding it. He's seen like everything that I was going through,
yeah.
and he still works 9 to 5, and he's like going through the transition of wanting to become an entrepreneurship. I
Mm,
think where the disconnect within our community where we feel like people don't understand the lifestyle is because nobody never really taught them,
yeah,
so they don't know what to like. Is how can you not understand something you don't know?
yeah,
And it's just like, all right, you know what? Where do we start? I think trying to get people to understand what entrepreneur lifestyle is just no different than having the ups and downs in a workplace and
mm,
feeling like, hey, this person is not listening to your opinion. It's the same when you come into entrepreneurship. Somebody's not going to like your product.
yeah,
That's fine. Somebody may not like what you're about. That's fine. There's a lot of different opportunities for everybody. You just have to find what works best for you. So that's what I meant by in the reference of the
oh,
whole
okay.
people thing. Like, find your balance. You
Yeah,
don't got to play everybody. I try not to go into the expectation of holding on to what happened in my last relationship or last connection with somebody into the next because
yeah,
that person doesn't know me or they don't deserve that. So,
yeah. And I think a big problem with like the entrepreneur lifestyle, right? That lifestyle is that you don't see it. Nobody sees that, right? Like you don't see the work. You just see the results of it. And I think that's where people get confused because they're influenced by Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, social media. So they just see the flashy cars, they see the house, they see the popping bottles at the club, the good times, but they're not seeing everything that led up to that. Or they just see people pop up all of a sudden on Instagram and they're making 30, 40,000 a month. But they were off Instagram for 5 years because they were building whatever they were building, right? But we don't see that. Like people get caught up in that. And I think that, when I don't know, I don't like that like entrepreneur lifestyle because everyone's different. Like every entrepreneur path is very different. Like I do network marketing. That's my that's my principal business. And that's the most freedom you'll ever have. You know,
right.
you're working for yourself. So I can't talk about like a lifestyle because my lifestyle is way different than your lifestyle. We're both entrepreneurs, but I'm not physically building a product. Your lifestyle is way different because you have to do marketing, you have to build the product, you have to do all your research, build your business. So, you know, I don't think there is an entrepreneur lifestyle. Everyone's lifestyle is very different compared to what you're doing. But you have to just keep going, keep grinding, and just, you know, be cool with everybody. I kind of understand what B. Simone's saying. I'm sure she like, you know, I don't know what she was thinking, but like in my head, right? Like if I'm working with a realtor, let's just say I'm trying to buy a house. I would rather prefer a full-time realtor than some like weekend realtor, right? Because with my schedule, I have time during the day, I have time during the week. A full-time realtor can show me throughout the week. A weekend realtor has 2 days, maybe one day she wants to spend with family, they want to spend with family. So like I understand it in that aspect, but you can't generalize, right? You can't, not all entrepreneurship like that.
Yeah.
So,
I think like sometimes with media, like they take so many words out of context and it's like you try to find the right things to say. And I honestly, I hate it. I feel like people are losing who they are because they're trying to be so structured due to the fact that they're afraid that this can get them canceled or this can do that. Like, granted, we all said some things that we want to take back or that we shouldn't have said, but it came out. So it's all about like growing through it. It's like no different than when I was watching like Trigger Warning by Killer Mike, and he was saying like, you know, we still go back to the Asians who cuss us out, and we still go back to these places where we're not really wanted. But then in like the black business alone, when somebody does one thing, we're quick to badmouth them, we're quick to say all this. So it's like, you know, how can we be so empathetic to others and not empathetic to ourselves?
Yeah.
And it's just really like you said, you try to be cool with everybody, but that's the thing. Like, there's really no such thing as being cool with everybody. I've learned that even growing up. Like, you can't please everybody. So please yourself and lead with that. And just make sure you're happy. And communication really will save a lot of things that assumption kills.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to talk about, you know, like when you're talking about like other people, right? When you're getting caught up in that social media, like circle, that social media, the cancel, everyone has to be 1,000% correct. And as soon as someone comes up, all of a sudden they start digging through like their past Twitter, their past Instagram.
And yo, Twitter is vicious. Twitter is, I've seen it happen. I sit there and say, well, let me not put this tweet up. Let me just go ahead and sit this one out. Like,
yeah. But, you know, that's why I built this platform. This is why we have this podcast, is to be able to show people, you know, like, you know, one, we can support each other in any aspect of entrepreneurship. We can promote ourselves. And at the same time, it shows people the truth behind what entrepreneurship is, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people that see your candles but don't see India. They don't see what you do. They don't see that you also have a full-time job, that you work at Vanguard, and you're still developing this brand, you're still developing your company. So that's why we have this, so that people see that truth and we can educate them so that they don't get caught up in that social media cancel culture, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right. That's the biggest thing to social media too is, like I said, learn when to take breaks. If you gotta take a hiatus from it and give yourself that mental recharge, do that.
Yeah. And you know, it took me a while. It took me like a good year to really understand like the social media thing. Because like I graduated college and went straight into network marketing. So, you know, I never had a full-time job, never had a 9 to 5. But, you know, when you're in college, it's all about social media. You know, you're consuming everything. So it took me a while to like understand the difference between consumption and creating. So once you stop consuming so much social media and all you do is create, like all you do is post and get off of it. Yeah, you just leave it there, turn off your notifications. Your life becomes a little easier. Like you ain't worried about it, not worried about the comments, not worried about the likes. You know, if you get one like, that's cool because that's one person that resonated with your message.
Right.
If you get 10,000, better. If you get 1,000,000, even better. But it's just about being who you are, being truthful to yourself, and putting yourself out there and seeing who's going to connect with you. And people are going to hate you for it. People are going to block you. They're going to talk shit. They're going to talk whatever they're going to talk. But you got to, like you said, you just got to keep doing it. Keep doing it and keep doing it, right?
Kanye shrugs.
Exactly.
It's life. I feel like people need to live more and worry less. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, once you putting more out there than you are consuming it, then you feel a little less bothered. And that's something I learned, especially within my business. I'm like, I'm spending more time on my personal page, but a little less time on my business page. Like, wake up. Like, you gotta be able to call yourself out when you feel like yourself
Yeah.
is spiraling down. Because if you just don't call it out for what it is and recognize what's the source of that energy, then you are going to forever be trapped to it.
Yeah. And you gotta be hard on yourself.
For real. Don't be too hard. Don't be too hard. Sometimes I had to like
No.
myself and I was like, hold up, who are you talking to? Like,
Yeah.
there's a couple steps back. You gotta
Yeah.
remind yourself of who you are, but don't be too hard. My mom always said that. She's like, you're so hard on yourself. And I was like, because I
Yeah.
know what I want. I'm not trying to like get really like crazy about it. I just sometimes you gotta let things be how they're going to be. If it works out, it works
Yeah.
out. If it doesn't, that doesn't mean that it's not necessarily ever going to work out. That just might not be the way for you.
Yeah. See, what I tell people is, you gotta be strict with yourself, meaning you have to have your times to work, your times to enjoy your time off. That's a big thing, right? For entrepreneurs, being able to turn it off at night, being able to like say, okay, I'm done for today.
Mm.
This is not gonna keep going. Like I'm just gonna stop for today, go to bed, relax, and then do it tomorrow. So you gotta be strict with yourself in that, but you can't be overly critical. Because when you're overly critical, then nothing comes out because you want everything to be perfect.
Shut
Perfect.
down.
Yeah.
You shut down if you get too critical because then your mind just can't take no more. It
Yeah.
happens to me because it's just like like I said, at the work, and sometimes I want to think about how I'm gonna do this and think about how I'm gonna do that, but I'm like fighting my body, like you got the energy, you put it through, but it's like no, don't overwork yourself. So yeah, you don't want to get to that point where, like you said, you shut down
Yeah.
creatively, you can't push forward, and then it's like your business becomes stagnant.
Yeah. Well, indeed, as we're wrapping up here, as people are listening to this, especially in times right now, through Corona, through the pandemic, maybe people are struggling. Their energy started to come down. Maybe they're starting up a business right now. What's some advice you would give out to the entrepreneurs listening to this right now?
So start as small as you can. Learn like try to find somebody that you connect to. It might not necessarily be a mentor. There's Facebook groups. That's something I did. There's like something on Instagram. Just find somebody that is willing to talk and listen to you and give you some sort of advice. I know I've done it myself with other
Mm-hmm.
people who make candles. I told one girl where she could find local wax so therefore she wouldn't pay so much in shipping. So like little things like that. It's kind of like make sure you're not over pouring into other people's cup and you can have some people pour back into you when you're not burning out your energy. But definitely start small and utilize the resources that you have and don't be afraid. If it doesn't work out the first time, that doesn't mean it's not going to work out. You got to persevere. So, and cry if you have to. Definitely cry. Let it out. Like swing on something. Whatever it is you got to do to release that energy, let it out because you're going to come back and you're going to realize like, all right, I needed that yell.
Yeah. All right, perfect. And where can we find you again?
On Instagram at Essentials _
All
So MINESSENTIAL.
Perfect, perfect. Well, India has been great. I'm sure everyone listening to this, they took some knowledge from it. Someone starting off a business, working full time, and doing a full time business. It's a struggle. It's taxing, but it can be done. You're proof of it. And I'm sure there's people listening to this that are gonna learn something from it, from you. They're gonna learn. Maybe they're going through the same process right now. So hopefully, this can pick them up. Push them through a little longer.
Yeah, if
So
anybody ever wants to reach out and talk, that's fine. I don't
yeah.
mind. I like conversation.
Great, great. Well, thank you for being on the show today, India.
No problem.
And and as always, this is the Retired 25 podcast. I'm your host, Salomon Roybal. Please like and subscribe. We're going to come to you every week with new guests, new topics, sharing our knowledge, and hopefully helping you get through the next level of your business. We'll see you next time.